The family was like, what were you going to do with him? Sickly, yes, but he had an imagination and he was so sharp, telling stories, very imaginative. Well, one day, the farmer was working out in his field, and it was not going together very well. And his wife was cooking and serving each of the children. There wasn't enough for all of them. What are you going to do? At night, the couple met to talk about what they would do with their youngest boy. He can't really help at the farm. I have an idea. Let's go to the temple and we will ask the priest, see if they need someone to clean the temple, or maybe he could study. Oh, that's a very good idea. Yes, indeed. The next day, the couple went to their young son. Come with us. Me? Yes. Pack your belongings, all your clothes. Come on. Okay. So he packed all his belongings, wrapped them up, put them over his shoulder. Well, come, follow us. And they led him to the temple. They knocked at the door, waiting patiently, silently. And the door finally opened, and an acolyte came out, and they came in. They waited, and a priest came over, very serene, finally asks, and how can I help you? Well, we have this boy. He's a very good boy. He's very smart. And maybe you need helpers. Maybe you need somebody who can clean the temple. And the priest thought about it. Come here, young man. And he asked him a question, and the boy responded very quickly. So he asked him another, and he answered very quickly. And he kept on answering, and back and forth, and back and forth. That boy was smart. And the priest said, I will accept your child. He will stay with us and help us in the temple. Go away, please. So the couple said goodbye to their son and went off. The boy looked after them as they left. And now he was alone in the temple. And the priest told him, follow me. Here is your room. These are the texts you have to study. Now come over here. You also need to sweep this area. And the boy was so impressed. He was so smart and so quick. He did his studies so well. He kept everything so clean. But he had one problem. He loved to draw cats. So he would study his texts and get tired. And then the side of the page, which was blank, would call out to him, and he'd get his pen and his ink, and he would draw cats. The priest saw him doing this. I told you not to do that. You are forbidden. You're supposed to study the texts, not write on the margins. Sorry. Well, the next day he's sweeping, cleaning the room, and he sees a huge white pillar, all gleaming white, and he immediately grabbed his ink and his pen, and he drew a cat on the pillar. Oh, he was so proud of his work. And the priest came over and said, again, one more chance, only one more chance for you. No more cats. Go. The boy was shamed, and he sat down to his studies, and he looked at the texts, and there was all this blank space on the side. So he grabbed his ink and his pen, and he drew a cat. And the priest saw him do this. No, You are not going to work. You cannot stay here. You are not going to be an acolyte. You cannot become a priest. You might become an artist. That's possible. So you are going to go. But first, I have one bit of advice to say to you before I dismiss you. At night, avoid large spaces. Keep to small. And the boy looked at him. I didn't get that. What do you mean? He packed up his belongings, put them over his shoulder. The priest opened the door and ushered him out. And he wanted to ask what the phrase meant, but he didn't know. At night, avoid big spaces, keep to small. But if I asked him, he'd be angry, so I have to leave. Bye. And out he's walking, and he thought, should I go home? Oh no, if I go home, my father will yell at me and be mad. And I don't want that. I can't go home. So what should I do? And then he remembered. In another village far away, there was a larger temple. Maybe they need somebody. Maybe they need acolytes. Well, I have to tell you that the temple that he was in, they already knew that that other temple had closed. Had been closed for years. Because there was a goblin in that temple, and it had been shut up. Many, many soldiers had gone to try to defeat that goblin, but everyone that had gone in had never come out again. Well, the boy didn't know that, and he went on his way towards that temple. And he kept on going until the sun got lower and lower towards the horizon, and the lights in the surrounding buildings started to go out, and it was getting darker and darker, and he was getting more and more nervous, and he hurried until he finally saw the temple. Whew. And he could see that there was a candle burning inside. Ah, there must be somebody there. So he tidied himself up. He knocked on the door. There wasn't any response. So he knocked again. There still wasn't a response. The candle's, I knew there's a candle in there, so somebody's got to be in there. He knocked again. And on that knock, the door slowly opened a chink, and the boy went inside. He looked around. Well, maybe a priest will come out and meet me, so I'll just stand here patiently. And he waited. And then he decided to sit down because he was tired after the long journey. And he was hungry too, but no, can't think about that. And then he noticed all those white, gleaming walls. And he took out his pen and his ink, and he went over there and he drew cats. Nice long tails. And he got drowsy and was getting no! I remember what the priest told me. At night, avoid large spaces, keep to small. What should I do? And he saw a closet with sliding doors, and he went and he slid open the closet, and he got inside, and he fell asleep. And a candle went out, and there was a lot of racket, and the closet was shaking, and he was terrified. And he wanted to look out a chink in the closet, but he wouldn't let himself, and it was getting louder. And the sun came up, and it was quiet. And the sun was coming through a chink in the closet, and he peered out. What? And he saw in the middle of the floor a goblin that looked like a giant as big as a cow, but it was a rat, a hairy rat. There was no man around who had killed the rat, so who had killed the rat? And he got out, and the rat was dead. And then he looked at the cat that he had drawn, and he noticed that there was blood dripping from the teeth and from the claws. The cat had saved my life. That young boy became a famous artist, and for years and years and years, the world came to see his pictures of cats.